All right, Nick Wright's my buddy, co-host First Things First, has a new podcast, What's Right with Nick Wright. So I'll go back. I mean, obviously, I predicted total whiff. I said, give me Brooklyn in 7. It'll be a long series.
And by the way, I meant to reach out to you, Colin, because with a month left in the regular season, you were with me. You were like, they don't play defense, they're not well coached, and then in the last second, you folded. Your beloved Clippers and now your beloved Nets, they've all betrayed you over the last few years of the NBA. These teams that don't play together, have no history, have no continuity, have no leadership, they flame out.
Well, I liked Ty Lue, and I loved how versatile. They had like 6 wing defenders with the Clippers. I liked their roster a lot.
Yeah.
But then Paul George went belly up on COVID, and I'm like, okay, I give up. I'm out. But
give up.
To me, and I was really hard on him the first day it happened, and I'll go back to this. Who you decide to ride with in life, marriage, friends, you go to Vegas with the wrong guy, you can end up in the Gray Bar Motel, okay?
Yeah.
You go with the right guy that says, hey, Nick, slow down, get off the table, let's go to bed. Yeah. So KD traded in Steph for Kyrie. That's the foundation of all this. And I said it at the time. Oh, no. This was not like buying a car and somebody screwed around with the odometer. You knew the issues when you went into the relationship. Like at some point, KD made a horrible decision. Say what you want about LeBron. He's made a career of really solid decisions. I'm going to take K-Love over the kid. I'm going to take Bosh and Wade. He's made a lot of
by
good
the way,
decisions.
for LeBron, finally, made a disastrous one this year and advocating for Westbrook and submarine the whole year. So here's the thing. I think it's you focused rightly on trading in Kyrie or Steph for Kyrie. But then also as a part of it, he was trading in Steve Kerr for Steve Nash. They had Kenny Atkinson. KD and Kyrie didn't play, or KD doesn't play that first year. Kyrie barely plays. And if you listen to any of the reporting, Kenny Atkinson, who was well-respected, well-liked, he gets pushed out because they want Steve Nash. And if you remember, then Kyrie was like, well, we don't really have a coach. I can be the coach. KD can be the coach. And Steve Nash has been in so far over his head. So he went from culture, depth, organization, amazing teammate, to Kyrie and a first-time head coach who has no idea what he's doing, who the only thing Steve Nash knows how to do is play KD 45 minutes. That's the only button he presses. It's just don't take KD out because it almost won him the Bucks series last year. And KD, Colin, have you seen a superstar look this? We've seen superstars play poorly, but look this unrecognizable to what he normally looks like since LeBron in 2011.
Well, here's the thing. In the history of dynasties, college and pro, there's never been one without a Hall of Fame coach. Wooden, Saban, Pete Carroll at USC, Chuck Noll, Walsh, Jimmy Johnson, Popovich. There are no exceptions. Yep. So 2 things working here. Boston is tremendous defensively, like next level intensity. Secondly, Tatum over the last couple of years has become a much better defender. He has. Like all guys that come into the league at 18. Like even LeBron's first couple of years, they're overwhelmed, right? But the other thing is he gets no easy baskets. The only thing that worries me about Tyreek Hill leaving the Chiefs, he gave them easy touchdowns. Like easy ones, right? Sure. Easy 50-yard gains. You don't have to have 12-play drives. Kevin Durant has not had an easy basket in the series.
Can you draw up one fucking out of bounds play and just get him an easy layup? Can you do it? The game 2 where he's 0 for 10 in the second half. We looked at his shot chart. He and Kyrie's shot chart for the second half when they were 1 for 17, Colin. There's one shot inside the restricted area. One. Meanwhile, every time the Celtics come out of a timeout, they get an open look. They don't always hit it, but they get an open look. These guys are taking the hardest shots in basketball, the contested mid-range shots, and so they're not getting any easy looks. But KD also, I don't know if you watched it. I stayed up to watch his post-game press conference yesterday, and I give him a lot of credit. He answered all the questions. He was very honest, but he seems puzzled. He's like, and he seems vulnerable. He's like, I don't know. Man, I'm thinking too much. Maybe I just need to go faster. Like, I was trying not to be too aggressive. And then, like, he stops and he's like, yeah, man, I'm just thinking too damn much. And he is flummoxed by what is happening. When he was 9 for 24 in game 1, and we all, like, I picked the Celtics to win the series. And I said after, we all on our show, and I'm sure you said something similar as well, KD won't be that bad again. He was 9. That might be his best game of the series. Yeah. We said he won't be that bad again. I think one of the reasons, if you picked the Nets after game 1, you felt good was that was the bad KD game, and they almost won it. Through 3 games, that's the best KD game. It's bizarre. And Kyrie, for all of his, I like to remind people, because Kyrie is, as Chris Broussard says, your favorite player's favorite player. And, he's the most skilled this and the most gifted that and all of it. Kyrie Irving has played 11 years in this league. He has never received a single first, second, third, fourth, or fifth place MVP vote. Never shown up on a ballot. He has been first team NBA 0 times. He has been second team NBA 1 time. Why is that? Because despite all of his individual brilliance at times, there's no consistency to it. And it's just a fact that Kyrie Irving has not had a single relevant postseason moment after round 1 since 2017. This is last year with LeBron James. That's a half decade, man. That's since before Jayson Tatum came into the league. Like, that ain't great.
Yeah, I worked with somebody, my first job in college, I got a job in Vegas, and I worked with an anchor person, and she was a huge talent. As good as any anchor I ever worked with. She showed up about 3 days a week. And one of the things I learned about that was that I ended up liking, and I was better with her. She was so funny. She eventually left the industry and did well for herself. But it was something a lesson I learned. I'd take a B+ that's there every day than an A that's there twice a week. And not only is Kyrie not there physically, he's not always there emotionally. Like a lot of those stories in Boston that came out after he left, he was blowing up practice. He was blowing up locker rooms. And so, I go back to Steph Curry is willing to come off the bench. The bench. I mean, Russell Westbrook was deeply offended when that was suggested. Iverson was offended by that. So there's a self-awareness thing. Like, we fall in love with talent in life. But LeBron and AD right now are a mess. KD, Kyrie are officially a mess. And Paul George and Kawhi, I'm sorry, one's nonverbal, one's not available. I mean, Paul George, COVID, hide yourself for a month, be an Olympic athlete. So, I think sometimes in the NBA, we just fall in love with talent. When Tyreek Hill got traded from the Chiefs, I had a GM say, 5 draft picks? Yeah, I would trade him too. He goes, Brett Veach knows what he's doing. They'll spend money and get production out of that. So, as much as you and I love talent, we all realize the 10 best quarterbacks of all time, maybe 2, Marino and Elway, qualify as the best talent. There's a lot of EQ and IQ and consistency. I am out on Kyrie. I don't want him anywhere near my roster.
Listen, and so let me ask you this. If you're the GM of the Nets, now keep in mind, you don't really have a lot of picks. Now you have some of Philly's picks, but most of your picks are gone because of the Harden debacle. You don't know. The Ben Simmons thing is now officially one of the most puzzling events in my sports life. He missed the season. He never got hurt. I'm not saying he didn't have a back injury, but my point is the last basketball game he played, he was healthy. He never had a full practice, and he missed the season with an injury. It's one of the wildest things ever. Kyrie Irving has a player option, Colin. If Kyrie Irving opts out, okay, yeah, of course, I want the 5-year full max. 5-year, $230 million. Can you? I don't know what you do if you're the Nets. I don't think you can just let him walk. You let him walk, and it's just Kevin Durant and this Blake Griffin who's 1,000. I don't know what the hell you do there. But Am I interested in giving Kyrie Irving 5-year max money? I don't know what I do. So what do you do? Honestly, what do you do if you're the Nets?
Well, here's the thing.
Steve, let me just say this real quick. Stephen A. said at halftime, he was like, I'd give him the $50 million, but 1 year at a time. And I love Stephen A. I have massive respect for him. Yeah, that's great. But he's not going to take a 1-year deal. You can offer to pay him in Subway coupons too. He ain't going to take that either. Like, he's not taking a 1-year deal. So, like, that's not a tenable option. If he says full max or I'm leaving, what do you do?
Let him go. I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you an example. I don't think he and KD are a great fit. So here's an example. People think about 3 years ago, before the nagging injuries, AD was the brittle one and LeBron was the bull, the 75 games.
Yeah, of course.
AD now is a terrible fit for LeBron. So is Kawhi Leonard, the two worst fits in the league with him. What LeBron needs now, he needs Jokic. He needs 73 games, and seriously, and a guy that can shoot. He needs guys off the ball for 70 games. Now, 3 years ago, AD LeBron worked. So Simmons and KD is actually perfect. You'd have to add other elements because he doesn't shoot. He creates shots. He'll defend the best defensive non-center. He's a perfect fit. Kyrie's not. So as Kevin now is increasingly brittle, let's say he gets 68 games a year. Well, Kyrie is unpredictable and brittle and emotionally brittle, and he takes shots. And he's never been a catalyst. He's a finisher. So I think we look at him and go, "Oh, it's just perfect." No, it's two movie stars. It's really two guys that need the ball and don't really elevate others. So to me, I would let him walk. You know, and I know a lot of dudes want to play with Kevin Durant. He's a good dude.
Oh, sure.
So I think you have to find. By the way, you have your big Drummond. You'll find bench guys. Simmons will be a good fit. You get what you get out of him. You have draft picks. Go find a couple of guys. Bradley Beal. Find somebody. Do something.
Wow.
But I don't think KD and Kyrie really work. I really don't.
They clearly, I mean, from a basketball perspective, it clearly hasn't been what everyone said it was going to be. And I also think the KD thing is, there's just so many interesting levels to it. As far as set the Kyrie part aside, like, why did he take one shot in the fourth quarter on Saturday and it was a dunk with 20 seconds in? Like, what is happening here? And I posted a stat on Twitter that's true. It's, I guess, somewhat unfair, but it's accurate. I'm just going to say it to you, get your reaction to it. Kevin Durant's career playoff record, 38-10. 38-10 with Golden State, 57-49 everywhere else. So with Golden State, he wins 4 out of 5 games. Everywhere else, he wins 3 out of 5. Like, or wins, a little more than 1 out of 2. So it is a fact because KD. Here's what I do know. I think that the folks, because there are folks, a lot of folks that will argue not only is Kevin Durant the best player in the league, but he has been the best player in the league for like 5 years, and people just don't want to give him the respect. Well, this series hurts that, man. It really hurts that. It's the Nets were the co-favorites to win the conference and third favorites to win the title, not before the season, 10 days ago. 10 days ago, Vegas was like, yeah, they're right neck and neck with Milwaukee, and they're behind Phoenix to win the title. They are this close to getting swept by a Boston team that is, I think this Boston is very, very good. But the reason people liked Brooklyn in this series was, well, they'll have the best player on the court. They have not. Jayson Tatum's been the best player on the court. And you must give me the chance to say something here, because you and your social media team really screwed me a couple podcasts ago.
What did we do?
And you know what you guys did. Because I said, because everyone was like, Jayson Tatum's top 5 guy, top 10 guy. And I'm like, listen, he's the 17th best player in the league. And you were like, all right, name the 16 guys better than him. So I named the 12 guys that were up to that point clearly better than him. And then the guys that he was close with, like Booker and Donovan and Trey. I don't even know exactly what I named. And then you guys made a whole goddamn production out of it. You did a list, you did a graphic, you did everything. And now it gets sent to me every time he has a big game. So let me say this. I am very choosy and very conservative with who I will call an NBA superstar. Because I think at any given time, you cannot have more than 10 of them. Jayson Tatum is beating that door down right now. Jayson Tatum is like about 96 hours away. I don't know who he's kicking out of club superstar. Maybe it's Dame Lillard because he's been injured. Maybe Anthony Davis already got kicked out to let Ja Morant in. I'm not sure who he's kicking out. But what Tatum is doing on both ends, this is how you become a superstar. So I am giving him his due respect. What he's doing to Durant defensively and what he's doing offensively, it's spectacular.
You know, there's a million things we could talk about, but I will say this. You're out east, I'm out west. So I do want to talk about the Sixers. So when they made this move, I said Daryl Morey, slam dunk. He's just adding a facilitator / playmaker to a really good team, good chemistry, draft picks, who cares? Can't have Drummond on the floor late. Ben Simmons is an enigma. Curry, I like, but you can't have too many small guys on the floor at once. And if I have Maxey on the floor and Harden, I'm not going to have Curry. It's just too many small guys. Yep. And you're seeing that in the NBA. The Warriors can pull it off. Almost nobody else can. So I look at what they did, and let's be honest, Daryl Morey, it's looking like a slam dunk. I mean,
a home run, and Harden hasn't even been great, and it's looking like this. I couldn't believe. Now I'm a little biased, and I'm aware of that because I'm friends with Daryl. Like Daryl, Daryl doesn't feed me stuff. He's not a source of mine, but like Daryl and I go to dinner with him. I've known Daryl since I lived in Houston, so I know I'm biased there. But I couldn't believe how many people, when the trade happened, were like, oh my God, what a win for Brooklyn. It's like, well, Ben Simmons was not playing for Philadelphia. They kept Maxey, they kept Tybal, they got James Harden, who has shown you that at times is at worst a top 15 player in the league. He's going to pair well with Embiid. And by the way, it is now a Grand Slam home run because the guy they traded, Ben Simmons, played 0 games this year. How much did he help the Nets? Not much. He never played for them.
Here's the other thing, and my wife taught me this about design. A lot of times you walk into a house and it's too cluttered. Just get shit out of the house. Take pictures down if you want to sell the house, right? By getting rid of all that stuff, Maxey, since the trade deadline, is an ascending player. Because his whole thing was, well, do you have Maxey on the floor? They had to get Curry minutes. And it's like there was this weird thing where once you get to the playoffs, Drummond's minutes are totally limited. You couldn't ever have Simmons on the court if he would have played because he can't shoot late. You'd foul him. And it's almost like when Maxey is like, okay, I'm not the star Embiid is. Harden's always been a better facilitator than people want to give him credit for. He's a better facilitator than like a Kobe or an MJ. He really can facilitate.
Sure.
And so it's like Maxey's now flourishing in this thing, and it doesn't seem to deeply bother Harden. Harden may be one of these guys, Nick. He gets his money. He has a nightlife.
Okay,
he likes to score.
This you've nailed.
James, he may not be like MJ. That's not his vibe.
So I just want to let people give people a perspective on this. So James Harden, in his career, on the court, has made $270 million. He has a $300 million deal with Adidas. So now we're at $570 million just from NBA and Adidas. Forget anything else. He's about to get another max deal, or maybe he signs for less. Moral of the story is, from his shoe deal and the NBA, he's going to clear $750 million. Yep. He has only ever lived after the Oklahoma City stuff in cities he's loved, in cool cities to live in. He has only played in Houston, they let him pick his teammates. In Brooklyn, he did pick his teammates. When he didn't like it, he forced his way to Philadelphia. He's gotten his way every step of the way. Point is this. James Harden, his ego is not tied up in, I have to be the leading scorer. James Harden's pretty content, for good or for bad. And so if Maxey can take another step offensively. If Harden just has to be like your third offensive option scoring, but is your number one distributor, well, that's a hell of a recipe. Like, we learned he couldn't be the best player on a title list, but if he's like second/third, that's interesting. Go ahead.
I mean, look at Steph Curry is saying, I'll come off the bench. I've got my titles, I've got my money, and frankly, I'll play against some backups. This is good. Harden's saying, listen, I got a scoring title. I've been all NBA. I got my money. I want to win. I can facilitate. I don't have to take the last shot. So it's like, when I talked about this with somebody the other day, I don't know if it was Chandler Parsons or somebody, I said, the idea that a guy scores 30 and now he's down to 18 and everybody's like, oh, he's not the same player. I'm like, well, that's kind of good because the 30-point-a-game guy was so ball-centric, he evaporated late in playoff games. It's like maybe James is like, I'm going to take a step back. I can give you 18 and 9 assists, and it's better for the team. Like, maybe we deserve to give him a little bit of credit, the kind of self-awareness Westbrook's never had.
No, that part's fair. The flip side of that is one of the reasons I think he is stepping back offensively is he doesn't seem to be able to get past people anymore. Like, he's not as explosive as he once was. He does that little dribble, fake step back, go, and he's just not getting past people. So I think that's a bit of a concern. But if we're staying East, there's just one other thing I want to say, because they won by 100 again today. Milwaukee walked through most of the regular season, walked through the first couple of games against the Bulls, won the first one when they shouldn't have. Then they thought they were going to win the second one. They didn't. And then Chris Middleton got hurt. And it's like, oh no, like, is Milwaukee vulnerable? And since then, they've beat the Bulls by approximately 100 points. Like, they are they are without Middleton. Now, without Middleton, Boston's going to be trouble. But Giannis has truly unlocked the final level of this shit, which is I am always playing hard, but I am not always in top gear. And I'm even in big games, I'm saving the top gear for the biggest moments. Like, LeBron was in that point for a long time where it was like he was always controlling things, but you could tell, was this a big spot, a big game? Giannis is there now, and they have, kind of been under the radar to a degree. I think to me, assuming Middleton is back by game 5 of round 2, I think they're the big favorites to win the whole thing again. I think that the path is falling right for him, and Giannis is just on another level of everybody.
Ja Morant, Luka, Middleton, often stars leave, teams, the ball movement gets better because you stop looking at the star player. The Warriors are the exception. When he is so fluid, he's liquid on the floor. When Steph leaves, the Warriors' ball movement gets worse.
Of course.
So with Ja Morant,
their spacing gets worse. Yep. Yeah.
Their spacing gets worse. But with Luka, Middleton, Chris Paul, Ja Morant, the star leaves, not as much kind of waiting for that player to engineer everything, and everybody kind of steps up. It's almost like the interim football coach in the NFL. Like, for 3 weeks, the team plays its best football. Sure. And then eventually you face an Andy Reid and it's like, yeah, our guy's he's a backup. He's a coordinator. So I think they'll be fine with Middleton, but they're going to need shot makers to beat Philly or Boston.
They're going to need shot makers to beat Boston in the next round. And you said Philly or Boston. Listen, nobody talks about them. This is why the East is the next 6 weeks are going to be so much fun, is Miami is the 1 seed. And Miami is just handling their business. And I picked Philly over my bracket was Milwaukee over Philly in the conference finals. But I think, listen, Miami's going to make you work for it. And if Philly has a few moments of weakness, Miami will take advantage of it. I just don't think they have the horses. If Embiid, I know he has the torn ligaments in his thumb, but assuming he's mostly right, I just don't think they have the horses to Miami to deal with Embiid and Philly.